What is up, everybody? We are here for episode number 16 of Beyond the Game. Hi, my name is Eric Michael. I've sold over $5 million in sports cards, and I've taught thousands of busy professionals how to make money with sports cards because I believe it is the safest, most predictable way to make an extra few $1,000s per month on the side, and it changed my life, and I teach it not only to make money, but because I truly do enjoy it, and I do these podcasts to talk about my life, sports cards, obviously, business, whatever's going on, answer a bunch of your guys' questions. I go live while I do these. And we, have football coming upon us. So right now while I'm speaking, it's Tuesday, and football starts in 2 days. And I can safely say this. I don't know if this is a healthy thing or not a healthy thing, what I'm about to say, but I work a lot, right? My business takes up a lot of my time. We have tons of employees. We're growing. We just got an office, blah, blah, blah. There is only one thing in life that truly detaches me away from business, and I'm just like a zombie, and it is Sunday football. So I am super, super pumped for that. I can just sit there, bet on games, eat buffalo wings, eat pizza. It's the best. It's the absolute best. Nothing is better than football Sundays. And to start this podcast off, what I want to do, so I've been very fortunate when it comes to football betting. I've been profitable for years and years and years. And instead of telling people I want to give you guys my top 3 picks every single Tuesday while I do these podcasts so you guys can keep track. Am I actually a bullshit or am I actually profitable? And just to let you guys know, sports gambling, and it's ironic like I'm saying this and I'm about to give you my picks, but sports gambling is a bad thing overall. Like, you have to understand, like, gambling, there's a reason casinos make a lot of money. It's because mathematically you can't win in the long run. You could if you're disciplined, but most people aren't disciplined because gambling is inherently addictive. And when you bet on a game, right, the casino, essentially the way it works is they take a small percentage. They take like a 5 to 10% piece, like those odds, instead of you betting a game when it's minus 110, right? If it's an even money game, you're risking 110 to win 100. That $10 gap, right, is how casinos make money. So don't become addicted to gambling. Use it. Think of gambling, if you're going to do it, like a ticket to a game, right? You spend a few $100s on a ticket to go to a ball game, put $50 on a game, $100 on a game. That's the way I look at gambling. I might put a little bit more than that, but use it as entertainment. Use it as fun, and be disciplined. Don't chase your losses because that's how casinos get you because you keep making all these rapid fire bets and then you lose a lot of money. Anyways, my top 3 sports bets, NFL bets. So the way I gamble, before I go into this, is I bet against the public a lot. So there's a great website called Action Network that will show you what percent of the bets are on a certain game versus what percent of the money is on a certain game. So a lot of the times you can go on this website and look, and you could see, like, out of all the number of bets placed, 30% of the bets are on a certain team. However, 60% of the overall money is on a certain team. What that tells you in a situation like that, if the percent of bets is less than the percent of money, that tells you that the experts, the guys who bet a lot, are on this certain game, right? Because they bet more amounts of money. So that, for the most part, that's how I gamble. I try to stay with the experts, a lot of underdogs, a lot of against the public, a lot of bets I'll throw out here that you guys probably won't agree with me on because it's against the public, but that's just how I gamble. All right, number 1. The Titans +4 at the Bears. I'm pretty bullish on the Titans. I am not bullish on the Bears. I think the Bears not making the playoffs is one of the best bets. I think they're due for a letdown. I think it'll be a field goal game. I think right now Will Levis is better than Caleb Williams. I think the Titans are a great bet always. They, with Vrabel especially, they always covered these guys. So I love the bet on the Titans. That cover a lot of spreads, and I think they're going to win the game outright. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the Falcons -3 home to the Steelers. It's tough to bet against the Steelers because they cover a decent amount. They always keep games close, but I think in that dome, Steelers secondary is always They always have a good front seven, but the secondary is always Great offensive line the Falcons have. I know Kirk Cousins is coming off an injury, which is kind of scary, but I think the Falcons are going to move the ball, and I think the Steelers just have no offense. I mean, they don't really have many people to throw the ball to. I don't think Najee Harris is that good, to be honest. I mean, their offensive line, I think they got a few upgrades, but I mean, they did not look good in the preseason. I think Falcons -3 is a solid bet. Yeah, Richie. Richie's a Steelers fan. Sorry, buddy. I think the Steelers are due for their first losing season in a long time. I just think that quarterback situation is just not good. Even though I think Fields should be the guy, but Fields, I think he'd be good too if he was in the right situation. Like, right, what quarterback succeeds in Pittsburgh? Big Ben did. Outside of that, not much. Sorry, Richie. And the last bet I like, and this is more just of a brain bet. I just think this logically makes sense. This is not really like going against the public or anything. Is the Browns -2 home to the Cowboys? So I think the Browns will just match up well against them. I think Deshaun Watson's also due for a bounce back year. Like, he hasn't been that great on the Browns. He had that whole thing happen to him. Then he missed a whole preseason. Then missed some of the regular season. It screwed him up the first year. Last year he wasn't that great. But people forget Deshaun Watson. When he was on the Texans, this guy was a dog. Like, he was Hall of Fame status, right? And like, I don't know where he's at now, but I think he's due for a bounce back year. I think the Browns, they picked up Jerry Jeudy, who I think is gonna fare well there. I think him and both Jeudy and Amari Cooper, I think are similar receivers, great route runners. I think it's gonna do Deshaun Watson very well, and I just think the Browns are going to kind of suffocate the Cowboys to death. The Browns at home are very difficult to beat, especially that defense. I don't know if you guys remember last year, but the Browns defense at home was like an all-time great. And then on the road, they were like, eh. So those are my 3 picks. The Titans +4, the Falcons -3, the Browns -2.5, which is not normal for me. Usually I make picks, mostly underdogs, but we'll see what happens with those picks. All right. Got the top 3 sports bets out of the way. Now I got some top cards of the week to talk about. These are not like the top cards of the week or like the hottest cards to buy right now. These are like things that I'm looking at that I think are good buys. And when I buy cards, right, I like to buy things that are low, sell them high, right? Pretty common sense. And right now, while we're speaking, football is very hot. So I try to stay away from football, right? And I'm geared more towards basketball, really towards baseball. I think baseball is a good play right now. I usually do it this time of the year. And there's some guys I have on here that I think are solid buys. So, number 1, Jackson Holliday. He's down a lot since the beginning of the year. He got called up. He ended up going like 1 for 30 or something. I got called back down. And he's come back up. And actually, let's see how well he's doing recently. I haven't kept tabs on him. Yeah, he's he's not doing that well. Yeah, he's doing okay. But a lot of guys don't do that great when they first come up from the majors. Like when Mike Trout came up, he wasn't that great at first. And the next year, his full first year, he exploded. So I think Jackson Holliday is a good buy. The problem with Jackson Holliday is so many people bought his cards for so much more than they're worth now. They're hesitant to sell them. Something to think about. Another good guy is Wyatt Langford. I think Wyatt Langford's a pretty solid buy. Same concept, right? You'll discover like there's a very common theme with these guys I'm talking about. Like these guys were worth more. They're down a lot now. And Wyatt Langford's probably more realistic to buy than someone like Jackson Holliday. Anthony Volpe, someone else, value's down a lot. Like if we just look at someone like Anthony Volpe, I'm actually curious now because I'm actually really thinking about buying these guys. Let me see here. Anthony Volpe. Let's see what his Bowman Chrome is worth. I wish there was a way for me to share my screen while I do this, but I do this on separate cameras, so it's a little bit hard. Let's see. Anthony Volpe. Hold on. Let's see. I use only alt when I look at sales all the way past, like, because eBay only shows you sales up until 3 months ago. But only alt will show you from years ago. So let's see. Anthony Volpe. His value is actually not down terribly. His PSA 10 Bowman Chrome was like 600. Now it's actually it is down. Never mind. I lied. It's like 300, 305. And there was a recent sale of 500, but that sale is probably fake. So Anthony Volpe, for the same reason, down a lot. Jackson Chourio, another guy, down a lot. I think these guys are young. Come spring training, even maybe come the holidays, they'll gain a lot of hype and momentum as they play winter ball. Someone who I really like, who I've made good money on in the past by buying his stuff in the offseason and selling it now. This is not who you're expecting me to say. But Marcelo Meyer, goodbye. Shortstop, right? Everyone loves shortstops. Big market team, right? The Boston Red Sox. And I believe he's not having the best of years. I looked earlier. he's in the minors. He's 21, so he's definitely going to be called up next year, which is a plus, right? Because like if you buy a guy and he's going to be called up, his chances are his value is going to go up in like January, February, March, right? This year he's not doing that bad. He's hitting like 270. No. Actually, no. Excuse me. He's hitting 307. He's hit 270 lifetime in the minor league. So yeah, he's crushing right now. I think Marcelo Meyer is the solid buy. Now he might get called up with that whole arbitration stuff very soon, and that screws a lot of things up because sometimes these guys will get called up and they'll play like crap and their values will shoot down. But I think he's an interesting buy. Some of his Bowman Crow. Max Clark is another guy. I believe he's a dude for the Detroit Tigers, and I think he has a pretty decent chance of getting called up. I mean, he's only in high A right now, but he's playing pretty well. He's hitting like 280. So I think another guy with potential. He's a little bit more risky. And then Jason Dominguez, another guy who's just like more of like honestly like a blue chip stock kind of at this point, even though he's in the minors right now, right? Let me just make sure because I know he was last year when he came up. Let's see here. Let's see. Jason Dominguez, what is his current? What's going on? Yep, Jason Dominguez is still in the minors, but everyone wants him to be called up. So that's kind of what's going on with Jason Dominguez. But next year, he'll definitely be a starter for the Yankees, and that'll just increase his value. So I think Jason Dominguez is a nice, safe purchase. So those are my buys. Those are some guys I'm looking at. A lot of baseball right now. I bought a decent amount of basketball. There's some of it's behind me right now. That's cool. Also, I just sold a card this morning. I'm beginning to sell the last bits of my football cards. I sold the Trevor Lawrence Cracked Ice Contenders 9.5. And honestly, I was kind of disappointed. I thought Trevor Lawrence, his value would go up a lot because he was down so much, but his value didn't go up much. I mean, it was like a trade / cash deal. I'm into the Cracked Ice 9.5 for around low 7,000s, and I sold it for 9,400. Oh, wait, 9,300. 9,300. I just did the deal this morning. And I really thought Trevor Lawrence had a good chance of going up like much more. Like, it's not bad. I sat on the card. I made $2,000. I made like 25% of my money, which is fantastic. But I really thought his value was going to shoot up more. And I have like another few Trevor Lawrence cards. And I hate to say this, but I'm very tempted to hold them. I think he's due for a big year. I think he's like a top 3 talented quarterback in the NFL. He just needs the right year and just needs the right situation around him. And I think he's kind of finally pulled it together this year. And like with football, like I'll say this to the day I die about every sport. Like the problem with football is like Jordan Love, right? Is a good example. So like his Contenders PSA 10, it was like $1,200-$1,300 like 4 or 5 months ago. Now it's like $2,200, and he hasn't even played, right? So his value's almost doubled, and he hasn't even played. So why? Because his value went up due to hype, momentum, and when there's hype and momentum, the demand goes up, which means the price goes up, right? So his value right now, a lot of it's just inflated, right? It just went up for no reason. So like the best way to put this, I wrote an email about this morning, but like Jordan Love, his actual value based on his in-game performance, in my opinion, his Contenders PSA 10 should be like 12, 13, 1400 bucks in that range, but that's not what it sells for. It sells for, actually, let me just get the exact number because it could have changed. It's always going up, I feel like, before I start talking out of my ass here. So his Contenders PSA 10, so the last one did $2,250, so it's worth about $2,200. So like his actual value based on in-game performance is like 12, 13, 1400 bucks, but his PSA 10 does like 2,200. What that tells me is there's $800 of like inflation, I guess is the best way to put it. So a lot of his card value is based on hype and momentum, not actually based on his actual in-game performance. Now, if you think about it logically for a second, what happens is when Jordan Love plays, if he plays really well, his value is probably not going to go up that much. However, if he doesn't play well, because his value is inflated, you're going to see it skyrocket down. And a lot of the time, what you'll see happen is guys will play well. You'll see this. Like, watch. You'll see guys play well. Like, you'll see Jordan Love start off 4-2. He'll have 9 touchdowns, 4 picks. Like, playing not incredible, but playing pretty good. and his value will go down. And people are like, what the fuck? Like, he's playing well. Why is he going down? Well, it's because his value is based on hype, momentum. It's just based on excitement, right? It's not based on anything factual. So watch out for that. And like, I'm saying that because someone like Trevor Lawrence, for example, has not really gone up that much, like 20%, 10%, like not a lot. So like if his value of what it sells for right now actually reflects his in-game performance. So it's a more of a true test. When he plays well, it will actually probably go up. If he doesn't play well, it will go down. Not like Jordan Love, who like if he plays well, it's probably not going to go up that much. And if it goes down, it'll go down. If he plays bad, it'll go down a lot because his value's inflated. A lot of words, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. That's why if you ever watch any of my content, I always say sell before the season starts because most guys go up in value based on hype, demand, momentum. And what that means is when the season starts, most of them go down. That's why it's a great idea to like buy cards now, like basketball, for example, and sell it right before the season, right? You're selling into that hype. You get a nice little 10, 20, 30, 40% appreciation just for, sitting on the card. So like if you're going to buy something and get a card graded and it's going to sit at PSA for a few months, you might as well have it appreciate or give yourself the best chance of a card appreciating, as opposed to like buying a card of Jordan Love right now. Chances are it's going to be worth less in, a month, 2 months, which is not the way you want to do it. Obviously, you guys watching this are probably here because you want to make money. Hopefully that makes sense. Some other stuff to talk about. So here's something interesting. People ask me all the time, like that joined my program. They're like, where do you think the sports card market's going? Like up, down, left, right? And I always tell people that, I'm biased. Like I teach people how to make money buying and selling sports cards. So like obviously I think it's going up, right? Like I wouldn't be teaching people how to do it if I didn't think the market was going up. It's only gone up since, I've been in it. Like it went up a lot during the pandemic, came down after the pandemic, but like, so I'm biased, obviously. But I was reading, there was a few articles online that were talking about Americans are selling stocks to bet on sports. That is a bad idea. But the reason I'm bringing that up is to showcase how big sports are getting, right? Don't ask yourself, are sports cards getting bigger? Ask yourself, are sports getting, right? Because with sports getting bigger, that just means sports betting will get bigger, which means sports cards will also get bigger, right? Sports cards just follows along suit with sports. Like that's why sports cards have gotten so big, because sports has just gotten bigger, right? All these companies like the MLB, NFL, NHL, like are pushing their stuff overseas, and because of that, sports cards is getting bigger, right? It just makes common sense. And the reason I bring up that Americans are selling stocks to bet on sports, it just shows you how big sports are getting. Now that is a bad idea because you could make money with sports betting. You have to be extremely disciplined. Most humans lack discipline, right? You chase your bets and you lose. Like I love, some of you guys might think I'm like, I contradict myself all the time because I talk about games I bet on, but then I also say don't bet on sports. The reason I tell people not to bet on sports because most people lack discipline, right? I've had friends. I'm not going to go into the detail, but like I've had one specific friend loses like basically everything from gambling. Why? Because he had no control. He had zero discipline, and because of that, he was just chasing, and would lose. And that's what people do. Like the best way to bet on sports is like I said, use it as a ticket to the game. Like use it as a way. Maybe you can make money if you're decent at it. But if it's a Sunday, you look at the games. You say, okay, these two games I like. You make your bets. You sit there. You watch the game. You enjoy it. Hopefully, you win. If you don't, you cut it. Then you don't chase. If you do win, great. Still don't chase. Don't just dump your money. That's what discipline looks like. Most people don't have that. And gambling, if you don't control yourself, is a disease. I've seen it firsthand. Sports gambling any type of gambling is a disease, right? It's addictive. And it's actually crazy that these companies just go out there and promote the idea of gamble, gamble, gamble. And like they're like, it's almost like they're just dangling a donut in front of your face with like all these like bonuses and commercials and showing you how much you could win. But like if you think about sports betting in a nutshell, so like for those of you guys that don't know how sports betting works, this is why you cannot win money. Okay, let me explain. let's say you have two teams, right? Team A and Team B. These teams are totally equal. Totally equal. In order for you to make a bet on that game, you have to bet each team is going to be minus 110. What that means is you're risking $110 to win 100. All right. So let's say someone bets $110 to win 100 on Team A. Someone bets $110 to win 100 on Team B. People don't look at those odds and think of anything like, it's $10. However, you're paying a 10% fee for the right to gamble. Okay? Because the casino, the way they make money, think about it. If Team A wins, what happens? Well, they had to pay someone $100, but someone lost $110. So the casino made $10. They made 10% on their money. And you don't look at it because you're just betting one game, two games, a few games. But over time, this fee just eats at you. It's almost like, let me give you a math equivalent. Imagine you were flipping a coin. And instead of you having a 50% chance to win, you had a 45% chance to win. That's like a similar math example. And you keep flipping that coin over and over and over again. But the coin, you only have a 45% chance to land on heads, and you keep picking heads over and over again. You're going to lose a lot of money in the long run, right? Just how it goes. So that's why gambling is bad. Use it as a ticket. Use it to have fun. Tell yourself you think you could make money because it's fun to say that, but just cut it. Like, make your bets and then just cut it. Don't chase your losses, right? Because all you're doing is you're flipping a coin with a 45% chance to win. So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Gabriel, I see your question. When are you selling your basketball? What baseball players are you buying? Gabriel, I mentioned some players I'm looking at to buy, like Jackson Holiday, Wyatt Langford, Volpe, Chirio, Marcelo Meyer, Max Clark, Jason Dominguez. Some baseball guys I'm looking to buy. And basketball, I'll begin selling it like let me see when exactly the NBA season starts. Let me see, because I'm not exactly. It starts October 22nd. October 22nd. So I don't know. A few weeks from now, maybe mid to late December, I'll start to sell basketball. Let's see what else we got here. Someone else that's interesting. So I was looking at Caitlin Clark's card. So her best card, like most desirable, on the Bowman Chrome University. It's actually interesting. Like, I didn't know what to think of it, but she's actually played very well in the WNBA season, and the values went up. Like a PSA 10, I was looking at it, of Bowman Chrome non-autograph. I think it was like, I don't know, like $60, $50 before the season. Now it's like 90, which I think is interesting. I think, can WNBA be a play to sit on and make money and sell it like into the preseason? Definitely a play to get graded and make money. I don't know, something interesting. Some other stuff. So going back to what I was talking about before, people always ask me, where do you think the sports card market is going? People ask me it all the time. And I pulled up some numbers just to show you where this market is really going. So check this out. A LeBron James Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10. You know what this card was worth in 2017? $5,000. You know what it was worth? It got all the way up to $200,000 during the pandemic, which is crazy. Now it's worth $25,000 today. And I bring that up because so many people think like, oh my God, the sports card market has crashed during the pandemic. But look at that number I just put out there. 2017, it was 5,000. 2021, height of the pandemic, it got all the way up to $200,000. That's not sustainable. Like, anything that goes up that much is going to crash, right? Just like Bitcoin did. And just like all the NFTs. I mean, that's a whole nother thing because people are scamming. But so what I would say is, today that card's 25 grand. And 6-7 years ago, it was 5 grand. The market on a lot of these bigger cards is 5 times. It's fucking nuts. Like, another example, a BGS 8 Tom Brady Contenders auto. $3,000 in 2017. During the pandemic, it got all the way up to $40,000. But today the card's worth about $15,000. Similar thing to the LeBron James I just talked about. It was $3,000 in 2017. Now it's about 15 grand. So card's worth about 5 times, right? To me, that sounds like a market that's only going up. And the reason for that is not only the pandemic, but like I said, sports is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Gabriel, I'm buying baseball. I'm gonna start buying it now. I bought some at the Fanatics card show like a few weeks ago. Um, so yeah, starting to buy some. All right, we got a bunch of questions here. Whew. All right, Q&A. Hassan, I would like to get my cards graded, but it seems like a hassle. I'm a new collector. What would be the cheapest, fastest, and easiest way to get my cards graded? So, all right, Hassan, since you're new, you're going to want to use the grading company PSA. That's first off because PSA is going to give you the best bang for your buck. And don't just get any card graded. So what I tell people is you only want to be buying stuff to get graded if you could at least double your money. So Hassan, in your example, if you have a bunch of cards on you, it's going to cost you, like, the lowest end service for PSA is going to cost you about $20 to get graded. Okay. And since what I'm telling you is you want to at least double your money if a card grades a 10, ask yourself, if this card grades a 10, can I net at least $40? If you could, buy it or grade it. If you can't, do not. Pretty simple standard to follow. Because there's so many people, like, it's actually funny. You'll see cards online as a PSA 10 is worth like $12, but people get them graded. And I'm like, why did you spend $20 to get a card graded when it's only worth 12 now, right? You get a card graded to increase the value and hopefully make money. I don't know. I've never understood that. People have always done that. I've never understood it. Um, let's see. NOLA Trading Cards asked me, when is it appropriate time to buy a card already graded? So only looking for GOAT players when buying already graded. It depends on your goal. Like, buying GOAT players, I mean, that's, you're not really gonna make much money on it. It's kind of like a blue chip stock. So it's like, right, Disney or Google or whatever. You could sit on it. You'll make 10, 15, 20% a year, whatever that might be. The way, like, I buy cards already graded, but I buy a lot of, like, modern that's down a lot. I love to play the swings in the market. That's like my favorite thing to do. So for example, like, I bought an Ellie De La Cruz Blue Bowman Chrome 9.5 at the Fanatics card show. I paid $2,000. I think I paid exactly what it was worth it, but it's because Ellie went up a lot, spiked back down. Maybe he'll start to heat up again at the end of the season. Maybe, maybe not. If not, I'll hold it into the winter, into the spring training, and hopefully, Ellie gets a lot of excitement because he steals, like, what's he gonna steal, like 80 bases this year, something crazy. So that's what I do, but it depends on your budget. Like, I have more money to do that and sit on cards for months and make like 20, 30%, which I'm fine with. It doesn't take a lot of work and I enjoy doing it. I love that, buying the guys who are young and play those swings. But like, if your budget is not like at least like 20 grand, 15 grand, I wouldn't do any of that. I would only be buying cards to get graded. And when buying a card to get graded, you're following the same like timing or the same guidelines, except you're just buying raw stuff. So like, for example, like, basketball season starts October 22nd. I just looked it up. And we know not every guy, but most guys are going to increase in value and increase in demand. And what you want to do, if a card is going to be sitting at a grading company for a month or 2 months or whatever that might be, buy something with a good chance to appreciate. So right now, I'd be buying basketball. It's getting kind of close. I'd probably buy basketball for another week, send them off to get graded, try to sell them before the season starts, and then move into baseball. Because if you're buying baseball in October, November, December, most of these guys are out of it. Most of them are cheap. They're going to increase in value come January and February. Most, not all. And that's a good way to do it, right? You're putting yourself in a good position because the assets that you're buying are going to appreciate, hopefully, if they're going to sit at the grading company, right? Because just think about that, right? If you're going to buy something and it's going to be away from you for 2 months or a month, however long it takes to grade it, probably makes sense to buy something with a good chance of going up, right? That'd be that's how I've done it for a long, long time, and it's worked. So hopefully that answers your question, NOLA Trading Cards. By the way, NOLA Trading Cards, do I know you? Have we met in person? I think we have, but tell me what your actual name is, because I think we have met in person. Unless I'm going crazy. Um, so let's see, what other questions we got. Um, let's see. Michael says, "Hey Eric, just wondering, how do you determine which cards to put up for auction or buy it now? Haven't started selling yet, but would like to know before I start." Good question, Michael. Okay. All right. So I sell most of my stuff through social media and it's card shows, number one. Um, Number two, so only auction something with consistency. So like when you auction something and it's more of a rare card, maybe it's a little bit higher end, people don't really know what it's worth. So they get trigger shy and the card will sell for a lot less than you expect it to. Happens all the time. However, like a very common card like a Will Levis Silver Prism that's worth about like $200, it's going to sell for around 200 all day. People see the comps, they know what it's worth, and they're going to bid on it. So only sell stuff through auction that you kind of know what you're going to get already. That's what I do. Or that's what I would do. Now, what I would say to that, contrary to that, is if you could sell something for $200 on eBay and, you'll net like, eBay will take like 13%. So you'll net like, I don't know, 170 around. Why not just go on Facebook, Instagram, make a social media so you could actually build a presence, sell it for like 185 or 190 so you actually net more money, right? And you build connections, right? So you never have to pay fees again, right? You don't want to have being having to pay 13% fees. That's insane. Let me give you an example. So I was talking about this earlier in the podcast. So I bought a Trevor Lawrence cracked ice. Like this was man, what was it? March, April, something like that. I traded into it. I was into it for about $7,000. One just sold. Literally like yesterday, I think. Maybe 2 days ago. It was a cracked ice contenders Trevor Lawrence. One just sold with basically the same exact subgrades, and it sold for $10,000. Okay. Now, what does the usual person do? The usual person tries to sell that card for $10,000 or maybe more. I know that's not the right thing to do. I sold it for nine. I literally just sold it. I forgot what I sold it for. Let me look here. I sold it for like 94, 93. That's bothering me. I sold it for, now I gotta look. 9,300 is what I sold it for. 9,300. I can't, I sold like 2 seconds ago and I forgot. Most people would try to get $10,000 for it, or 9,800, 9,900. I don't care. I'll lose a few percent because I get that money quicker. I was able to sell that card within like 10 minutes of posting it on Facebook. I got my 9,300. I made like 25% on the card. And now instead of holding that card and praying and hoping I get an extra few $100 for it, I gained a connection. This is someone who I've never done a deal with. He seems like he's actually a Trevor Lawrence collector. So I got someone in my pocket whenever I have Trevor Lawrence cards in the future. And he knows I'm trustworthy. He knows I'm easy to deal with. And I don't have to pay eBay fees. And I can just text him or message him on Facebook, number one. And um, number two, I'm able to sorry, my dog is you can get down. Thank you. And number two, I got cash quicker, right? Because I got cash quicker, I'm able to turn that money over faster, right? Um, like so many people try to get every last dollar when people don't realize trying to get every last dollar, now you're holding money for longer because you're not able to sell cards as quick. And number two, people don't like you as much. But now I'm that guy that this guy wants to deal with because I was actually fairly priced. He was probably blown away at the fact I was selling such a high premium card at a discount because no one ever does that. But I do because I don't give a shit about getting an extra few percent. I'm not greedy because I know me not being greedy is actually going to make me more cards in the long run. Um, Joy of Paradise. How do you ship expensive cars if you sell on social media? So, okay, so like I'll tell you how I do it, but how I do it is not the way I would do it if I were you. So I actually don't use insurance because I've done the math. I've probably lost like a few $1,000s of cards in the mail in my life, but if I was using insurance, I would have paid way more than that. However, I'm going to tell you to use insurance because not everyone can afford to lose a lot of money. I just ship it express usually in a bubble. I put it in a bubble mailer, like wrapped up in a bubble mailer. And I put it in another bubble mailer. And then I put it in a priority flat rate box, tape it shut, put the shipping label over it. And I usually ship it express via USPS, unless the person requests FedEx. Express will be like 25 bucks. FedEx will be like 60, 50, 70. I probably recommend FedEx. Seems like they're more trustworthy. I don't have any data on that. I'm just guessing. They seem more trustworthy. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Mike says, "Hey, I'm Mike from Louisville, Kentucky, and I love Lamar Jackson. Naturally, he went to Louisville. Do you think his cards can hold an increase in value over the next 10 to 15 years like Tom Brady cards? Or does it need to win a few Super Bowls first? Also, I know the season is beginning, so it's probably not the best time to buy his cards, right? Wait till the offseason. Well, if he wins a few Super Bowls, his value is going to go up. That's should be pretty obvious. Chances that happens, not high. Like um, what I would say, Mr. Mike from Louisville, Kentucky, is like, why guess, right? Like, who knows what's gonna happen to Lamar Jackson? He could be out of the league in 3 years. Like, we don't know. I don't know. You don't know. The scouts don't know. Like, nobody knows. Like, even if like, let's say here, let me put you in a pretend world for a second. Let's say you have $20,000 to spend on Lamar Jackson, right? 20 grand, a lot of money. Let's say you put all $20,000 into Lamar Jackson. And let's say now his value doubles in the next 5 years. Probably not going to happen. It could. No one knows. You could do so much more with that $20,000 by following my systems and following what I'm saying and flipping cards and buying in the offseason, selling during the season, buying cards to get graded, rather than just holding and praying and dumping just because you like them. Like, turn sports cards into a business, make an extra 4 or 5 grand a month, and take some extra cash for fun and throw it on the side on one of your favorite players if that's what you really want to do. Like, that's what I would say, Mike. Don't why guess? Like, I mean, like, I come from the world of, like, right, I obviously teach people how to make money buying and selling sports cards. So, like, my objective when people come to me is I want to show them how to make the most predictable, safest, easiest money. That's not, right? No one knows what's gonna happen to Lamar. I think he's a great quarterback. I actually think he's undervalued. He wins like 70% of his games. But why guess? Like, who knows? Like 50%, here's a good stat. 50%, half of the NFL quarterbacks drafted in the first round are out of the league within 5 years. Nobody knows. Nobody knows, right? So that's what I would say. I will challenge you on your question. Will his cards go up? Who the hell knows? But I would say don't dump money into it. You can put your money in a much better situation by actually starting a business, whether it's sports cards or real estate or whatever, and churning an extra few $1,000s a month every single month. Right? That's how to like fundamentally change your life. That's my motivational speech for the day, Mike. All right. Um, let's see. All right, this is a long one. Let me take a sip here first. Steven, I sent you multiple emails, but you did not answer any of those. I'm not trying to be rude at all, but I receive anywhere from 3 all the way up to 10 emails a day. No, there's no way you receive up to 10 emails a day. We send at most 2 in a day. But maybe it feels like that because maybe you don't look for a few days and you see them all pile up. And you're always saying how I can build this and how I can build that. How much does it cost to take your classes exactly? And how is it that you help me get set up to sell my sports cards? I remember a few of your emails saying subscribers get all this information for free. How am I supposed to get it if you don't answer? Well, I can't answer emails because I get tons. I mean this with all due respect, but it gets a little annoying. I work 12 to 14 hours a day. I don't get responses. It's inauthentic. I have over 35,000 cards. I'm not saying I have the best cards. I have a lot that need extra work. Some are worth more than others. A lot of these cards from the 80s and 90s. Hope this gets through to you. Have a nice day. All right. That's a lot. Steven, so sorry for not responding. I will check my email and try to respond to you. I get tons and tons and tons of emails every single day, so bear with me. How I help you sell your sports cards. So, okay, so like the sports cards you have from the 80s and 90s, most of them are probably not worth much. Like if you have cards from the 80s and 90s, what you want to be looking for is anything in like great condition of any stars, which is like impossible because most of those cards are not in good condition. And then also the other end of it would be like 90s basketball. Like that stuff could sell for a lot of money. Outside of that, it's not much. So if you have 35,000 cards from the 80s and 90s, I'm sorry to just break it to you, but I'll just truthfully tell you they're probably not worth anything. So many people have thousands of cards from the 80s and 90s. How I help is I show you all the tips and tricks and all the insides that what it takes to buying and selling a sports card business. Like we have a sequential, not sequential, but like systematic way of buying and selling sports cards through like video modules. We show you exactly what to do, what to buy, when to buy, how to buy the best cards to buy, how to negotiate, how to get the best deals, how to know if a card's going to grade well. And I show you instead of you taking years and years like I did to try to learn it, you could just learn how to make money buying and selling sports cards right away by just taking my information and taking my knowledge that I've spent the past 10 years and just implementing it right away. So you don't have to take 10 years to learn it. You could just start learning it right away. So that's how I help you. And in terms of how much the classes cost, we have multiple. ones that are lower end that are really cheap, all the way up to ones that are very expensive. It just looking depends on your budget and the level of help you're looking for. So like, we just have multiple programs and multiple classes. Um, so hopefully I don't really know what your question was, but the cards you have are probably not worth much. So many people have cards from the 80s and 90s, and sorry to burst your bubble if you do, they're not worth much. So yeah, Steven, there's there's the answer. All right, Bob. Bob says, when attempting to submit a Beckett 9.5 to PSA with the hope of PSA grading the card a 10, would you recommend breaking the Beckett card holder opening and submitting the card raw to PSA, or sending the card in the holder to PSA and using the PSA crossover option? Oof, that's a good one. So cracking the card out and sending it to PSA is going to net you a better chance for the card to grade a 10, point blank. However, it depends on what your downside and your upside is. So like, okay, this is the way I would look at it. This is like if I was doing it. I would buy a card that has a Beckett 9.5. Um, and I would look at the card and I would send it to PSA and I would think it has about a 70 to 80% chance of grading a 10. When you buy a Beckett 9.5 to cross, don't just look at the grade of the card, look at the actual card itself inside the grade and say, like, okay, like, is there actual damage to this card? Because these grading companies screw up all the time. You could see a Beckett 9.5 with damage to it and don't buy that card to send across. Right? It doesn't make any sense. However, Beckett 9.5s and PSA 9s don't sell for that different. So for example, let's say a PSA 9 is $500 and a Beckett 9.5 is 600 and a PSA 10 is 1100, right? I would crack it out because even if it grades a PSA 9, my downside is losing like $100. However, if a Beckett 9.5 is 800, a PSA 9 is 500, and a PSA 10 is 1300, too much downside. I don't want to crack it out. So it depends on what the card sells for. Like if you're able to send me the card, I could tell you what I would do. And it also depends on like how confident I am in the card. The more confident I am and the better and cleaner the card looks, the more comfortable I am with cracking the card out. So hopefully that makes sense. It depends on the value of the card and your risk tolerance. I have a lot of risk tolerance, so I don't mind losing money. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, Casey says, "Do you see AI grading becoming the norm in the future? Do you see AI as a benefit or a detriment to the industry? It'll never become the norm because it'll be detrimental. Because think about this, Casey. AI grading is almost like a robot grading, right? You will know this is the problem. Like there will be smart people that will develop softwares if AI is grading cards to just look at what the card looks like before getting graded, and this magical software someone will develop will just be able to tell you before the card even gets graded whether it's going to be a 9 or a 10, which completely ruins the industry. Right? You don't think PSA has ever thought about this and looked at it? Of course they have, but it would ruin everything. That variance, like not variance, but like that chance of like you don't know if it's gonna be a 9, you don't know if it's gonna be a 10, that is what drives the hobby, right? And that is why a PSA 10 is worth triple a raw card a lot of the time. As opposed to if a card, everyone knows basically what it's gonna grade for before it even gets into grading, a PSA 10 would be 500 and a raw card be 400. There'd be like nothing to it, right? It would completely ruin the industry. Makes sense on the surface, like why not have everything the same. But that human element of it, that human error, is what makes grading so special. Because you actually like, even though I've sent in thousands of cards to grading, probably tens of thousands, I still don't fully know, right? Like I know what a good corner, edges, centering, surface. I know what all that shit looks like by now, but you don't actually know, and because graders will have good days, they'll have bad days. You'll send in like an example I talked about in the last podcast. I sent it in an atomic Shohei Otani Bowman Chrome. Um, it was a Beckett 9. I cracked it out. The edges were kind of messed up, but I was like, fuck it. Let me send it in, see what happens. I got a 10. I made $20,000 on profit on the card. If AI was grading that card, there's no way that card would have graded a 10. Okay. So will AI grading become the norm? I highly doubt it. I hope it never becomes the norm because it would ruin grading. To be honest, it would ruin the industry a lot. And I think like PSA is like not dumb. They've thought about this, and there's a reason they haven't done it. There's one company that tried to do it, HGA, and I love to buy cards from them because you can crack it out and send it in for grading a PSA, and they grade well. Um, but yeah, those are all the questions. Wow, that was a mouthful. Hopefully you guys enjoy this stuff. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM, comment on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you see me. If you're watching us on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.